Good morning, students. Today we will be going to discuss about the last topics of this alternating current. That is about the resonance and quality factor or the Q factor, LC oscillations and then transformer, which is the last topic of today's class. Now coming to the resonance, already we have discussed about the resonance. Resonance is a state where the current in the LCR series circuit will be the maximum. And we have studied the conditions for resonance also. And at resonance, the basic idea is what? The natural frequency must be matching with the forced frequency. Whenever the two frequencies are matching with each other, then the circuit will be under resonating state and current in the circuit is maximum, or I can say that impedance of the circuit is minimum. And we have studied the conditions for resonance. What are the conditions that we have studied for resonance? The first condition is at resonance. At resonance, what are the conditions we studied? First one, voltage across inductor is equal to voltage drop across capacitor. Second one, inductive reactance is equal to capacitive reactance, or I can also write it as chi L is nothing but inductive reactance, which is written as omega L. That is equal to chi C is nothing but capacitive reactance, which can be written as 1 by omega C. And using this we obtain the expression for resonating frequency. And what is the resonating frequency we had? Resonating frequency. What is the formula we got? F naught is equal to 1 by 2 pi into root LC. This is called the resonating frequency expression. And next, at resonance, whenever chi L is equal to chi C, what is the impedance of the circuit? Impedance Z is equal to R. Why? Because we know that Z is equal to square root of what? Actual formula for impedance is square root of Z is equal to square root of R square plus chi L minus chi C whole square. At resonance we are having chi L is equal to chi C. Therefore chi L minus chi C becomes 0. 0 plus R square is R square. Root of R square is R. Therefore at resonance Z is equal to R. And this being the 0 term, Z value will be minimum. At resonance, we will have minimum value of impedance. At resonance, the impedance will be minimum. Impedance minimum means current will be maximum. Why? Because we are having Vrms is equal to Irms into Z. Therefore, Irms is equal to RMS current is equal to Vrms divided by Z. Z being minimum, current will be maximum. If this is minimum, this must be maximum. Therefore, at resonance, current in the circuit is maximum. And one more thing is power dissipated at resonance will be maximum. At resonance, current and voltage, how they are? At resonance, current and voltage are in phase. Current and voltage are in I and V. I and V are in phase. Are in phase at resonance. At resonance. And one more thing what we had is, whenever current and voltage are in phase, generally this is seen in the case of pure resistive circuit. Therefore, at resonance, LCR series circuit behaves like pure resistive circuit. At resonance, what I can say? At resonance, LCR series circuit, a very important theoretical question. LCR series circuit behaves like pure resistive circuit. Behaves like pure resistive circuit. Pure resistive circuit. And one more thing is, at resonance, what is the applied voltage? The applied voltage will be completely dropped across the resistor. We know that applied voltage formula V is equal to square root of VR square plus VL minus VC whole square. Yes or no? At resonance, VL being equal to VC, VL minus VC is 0. Therefore, this term will become 0 plus VR square is there. Therefore, root of VR square is nothing but V. Therefore, at resonance, V is equal to VR. That means the entire voltage that is applied, the AC voltage that is applied, will be dropped across the resistor only. Understood this clearly or not? This is true only under the resonating condition. And these conditions are very much useful while you are solving the board level questions to the competitive level of questions. So the important points that you need to remember regarding the resonance are these things. At resonance, voltage drop across inductor is equal to voltage drop across capacitor. Inductive reactance is equal to capacitor reactance. Resonating frequency is equal to 1 by 2 pi root LC. And at resonance, impedance in the circuit is minimum, therefore current in the circuit is maximum, or power dissipated will be maximum. And at resonance, LCR series circuit is going to behave like a pure resistive circuit, and the applied voltage will be dropped across the resistor. Why? Because the voltage drop across inductor and voltage drop across capacitor will be out of phase, and therefore they will cancel each other. So these are the important points that we have to remember regarding the resonance condition, and this resonance will be used for tuning of the TV and radio tuning cases. Okay, that I told you in the previous class only. By varying the capacitance of the capacitor, we will be choosing a variable type of capacitor in the TV tuner or the radio tuner. By varying this capacitance, the F0 can be varied, or the frequency will be set. The driving frequency will be made equal to the signal frequency. When this happens, we are able to see that particular channel only happens at resonance. So these are the advantages of resonance with the electrical circuits. And now we will be going to learn about the quality factor or the Q factor. Q factor means nothing but the quality factor, which can also be called as the sharpness. Sharpness or Q factor. What is meant by this sharpness or Q factor? So this Q factor can be mathematically defined like this. The quality factor Q factor or sharpness can be written like this. Q factor is equal to resonating frequency divided by 2 times delta F. This is called as bandwidth. This 2 delta F is said to be the bandwidth. I will tell you what is meant by bandwidth here. Quality factor can be written like this. This is one formula, and we can also write this quality factor like this: omega L divided by R. Otherwise, I can also write it as 1 by omega CR. So these are the different types of representing the quality factor, and we are going to derive these terms for the quality factor. How we are getting these formulas, I will tell you. How we are getting the quality factor is equal to omega L by R, and how we are getting the quality factor is equal to 1 by omega CR, I will tell you. But here, if you see, in an LCR series circuit, other than the resonating frequency case, if I take this equation Z is equal to square root of, we are having R square plus chi L minus chi C whole square. But what is chi L? Omega L. Omega L minus 1 by omega C whole square. Yes or no? If omega is not equal to the omega naught, that means whenever the frequency of the angular frequency of the circuit is not equal to the resonating frequency, what is going to happen? Omega L is not equal to 1 by omega C. Omega L is not equal to 1 by omega C. Then impedance won't be the minimum. Then if you plot a graph for this case, then what we are having, we will see here. The graph for the variation of impedance with the frequency of the circuit. Variation of impedance with the frequency of the circuit, if you see, the graph will be like this. So what it says? As the frequency increases in the beginning, impedance goes on decreasing and becomes minimum for a particular frequency. So the impedance is becoming minimum, not zero, but it is becoming the minimum at a particular frequency. And the particular frequency for which the impedance is minimum is said to be the resonating frequency. This is represented with F0. And this is the impedance 1, and this is the minimum value of impedance. Therefore, I can write it as this intercept on y-axis is taken as the minimum impedance. So, as you see the graph here, with increase in the frequency of the LCR series circuit, first the impedance is decreasing and becomes minimum for a particular frequency called resonating frequency. And if you further increase the frequency, once again the impedance of the circuit is increasing according to this following graph. Taking this into consideration, if I plot the graph for the variation of current with the resonating frequency, then the graph will be shown like this. So this is the frequency of the circuit and this is the current in the circuit. Then the graph will be in this way, just or reverse of this case. Why? Because Z and I, how they are related? They are inversely related with each other. When the impedance decreases, current increases. So impedance increases, current decreases. So here if you see from here to here, what is happening? The impedance is decreasing. Therefore current should increase and the graph will be like this. The graph will be like this. So if you see here, the current in the circuit is maximum for a particular frequency called resonating frequency. For frequencies less than this resonating frequency and for frequencies more than this resonating frequency, the current in the circuit is less than the maximum value of current, and this maximum current is taken as I maximum. I maximum refers to the maximum current, and that maximum current is possible for the resonating kind of frequency. For any value of frequency other than the resonating frequency, current will be lesser than this maximum value. And here on, if you see here, for a particular current, there will be how many types of frequency, or for a particular impedance, how many frequencies are possible, excluding the maximum value of current or minimum value of impedance. If you see here, other than the maximum current case, you choose any other current. Let me choose this particular current. For this particular current of I, how many possible frequencies are there? If you see here, one frequency is there. Let me take it as F1, and here there will be another frequency called as F2. So for a particular current other than the maximum current, we are having two frequencies. We are having two frequencies F1 and F2. That means for two different frequencies we are having the same current. In the similar way here also, for a impedance other than the minimum impedance value, we will be having the two different frequencies. That means for two different frequencies we can have the same value of impedance. That is F1 and F2 are the two frequencies for which the impedance will be the same. Here also the current will, for two different frequencies F1 and F2 other than the resonating frequency, we are having the same current. Okay, and here I will take this gap as the bandwidth. This difference in the two frequencies taken as bandwidth. If I choose that, this is delta F. The difference in these two frequencies is delta F. Similarly, the difference in these two frequencies is also equal to delta F. Therefore, this difference will be equal to delta F plus delta F. It will be 2 times delta F. This is equal to what? 2 times delta F. This 2 delta F is said to be the bandwidth of the circuit. And how to define these two frequencies in general means, for our practical purpose, I will define this current as this current will be taken as I maximum by root 2. What is this I maximum by root 2 refers to? The peak value of current by root 2 is nothing but the RMS current. And for the current to be RMS current, then the power will be half of the maximum power. Therefore, RMS current is the current which is going to, this is RMS current. What is RMS current? RMS current is nothing but maximum current by root 2. I maximum by root 2. Otherwise, I will write it more clear like this. Im by root 2. Already we discussed that IRMS is equal to I maximum by root 2. And for this current, the power in the circuit will be half of the maximum power. Why? Because we are having power is equal to what? I square R. So P is equal to IRMS square by R. That is equal to what? I maximum square by R by I maximum by root 2 whole square is nothing but 2. This is equal to P maximum divided by 2. So half of the maximum power. Whenever the current is equal to RMS current, then the power in the circuit is half of the maximum power. Therefore, the frequencies corresponding to this RMS current, the frequencies corresponding to the RMS current are said to be the half power frequencies, because those frequencies are responsible for half of the power in the circuit. Hence the name half power frequencies. What are half power frequencies? The frequencies corresponding to the RMS current or the frequencies for which the power will drop to half of the maximum value are said to be the half power frequencies, and the difference in the two half power frequencies is said to be the bandwidth. What is bandwidth? The difference in the half power frequencies is nothing but the bandwidth, which can be taken as 2 delta f. This is f, this is delta f, then this is 2 delta f. In some textbooks or in some other materials, we may see the delta f can be directly taken as f1 minus f2 or f1 difference f2. F1 difference f2. That means the difference in these two frequencies is nothing but the bandwidth. So here I have taken this as delta f, this is delta f, therefore the difference of these two is 2 delta f. So in some textbooks directly they will take this range as delta f, which is called as bandwidth. What is bandwidth definition? Bandwidth is nothing but the difference in the half power frequencies. The difference in half power frequencies is called as bandwidth. Okay, what are half power frequencies? The frequencies that are corresponding to the RMS current, or the frequencies that are corresponding to the half of the maximum power are said to be the half power frequencies. Okay, bandwidth definition I think you got. What is bandwidth definition? The difference in the half power frequencies is said to be the bandwidth. Now if you see here, f0 stands for what? F0 stands for the resonating frequency. Resonating frequency by what is there? Bandwidth is there. So what is this is read as? It is read as the ratio of resonating frequency to the bandwidth. The ratio of resonating frequency to the bandwidth is said to be the quality factor or Q factor. What is quality factor or Q factor? It is defined as the ratio of dash to dash. It is defined as the ratio of resonating frequency to the bandwidth. Understood this clearly? The ratio of resonating frequency to bandwidth is said to be the quality factor. And now some cases we can also take the quality factor like this. Quality factor can be written in terms of angular frequencies also. If f0 refers to the linear frequency, then angular frequency is 2 pi f. Therefore I can write it as omega naught divided by 2 delta omega. This is also be the representation for quality factor. And now I am going to derive this quality factor Q factor is equal to omega L divided by R, or 1 by omega CR. Is it clear or not? So what you understood here, with increase in the frequency, the impedance of the circuit first decreases, becomes minimum for a particular frequency called resonating frequency. For the further increase in the frequency, once again the impedance of the circuit increases. So and impedance is minimum for which frequency? Resonating frequency. Or similarly, if you see the current versus frequency graph, with increase in the frequency, the current in the circuit increases in the beginning, becomes maximum for a particular frequency called resonating frequency. With the further increase in the frequency of the LCR series circuit, the current in the circuit decreases, and the frequency for which the current in the circuit is maximum is said to be the resonating frequency. At resonance, current is maximum, power is also maximum, because power is equal to I square R, and the frequencies corresponding to the half of the power are said to be the half power frequencies. The difference in the half power frequencies is nothing but the bandwidth. The ratio of resonating frequency to the bandwidth is said to be the quality factor of the circuit. Is it clear or not? Calculation of the quality factor or the Q factor. So if you see the graph already which we have drawn, so here what is happening with increase in the angular frequency? What is happening? The current is increasing in the beginning, becomes maximum for a particular frequency called what? Resonating kind of angular frequency. With the further increase in the angular frequency, the current in the circuit is decreasing. And here, what is this current? This is the current referring to the RMS value. And for this RMS current, the power in the circuit becomes half of its maximum value. Hence, the corresponding frequencies are said to be, these two frequencies are said to be, or the frequencies corresponding to the RMS frequency are called as the half power frequencies. Let me take it as omega 1 and this as omega 2. How to write this omega 1 and omega 2? Here, let me choose this gap is equal to, or the difference in the two frequencies is equal to delta omega, and this is also equal to delta omega. Then, what is the bandwidth? Omega 2 minus omega 1 is the bandwidth, which is equal to delta omega plus delta omega, that is equal to delta omega. So here what I can say, here omega 1 is can be written as omega naught plus delta f. Yes or no? Omega 1 is nothing but minus delta f. From here to here it is omega naught, and from here to here it is omega 1. So omega 1 plus delta omega is equal to omega naught. Therefore omega 1 is equal to omega naught minus delta omega. So I have to write it like this: omega naught minus delta omega. Is it clear? And omega 2 is equal to what? Omega 2 means this. This is nothing but from here to here omega naught, and from here to here delta omega. Therefore omega 2 is equal to omega naught plus delta omega. Now what is the bandwidth here? Therefore omega 1 or omega 1 difference omega 2, which is nothing but maximum frequency minus minimum frequency, angular frequency case, is nothing but this minus this. This minus this is nothing but omega naught plus delta omega minus omega naught minus delta omega, which is nothing but omega naught minus omega naught will cancel. Delta omega minus of minus delta omega, which is nothing but this is plus delta omega. So this is equal to 2 times delta omega. Is it clear or not? So here we got that omega 1 is equal to omega naught minus delta omega, and omega 2 is equal to omega naught plus delta omega. So the difference in the two half power frequencies is equal to how much we got? 2 times delta omega we got. Now we are calculating the quality factor like this. So we know that current in the LCR series circuit is given by what? We know that current in LCR series circuit, current in LCR series circuit, I is equal to V divided by Z. Yes or no? This is a basic formula we had. Or else IRMS is equal to VRMS by Z also I can write. For I is equal to I maximum, impedance will be minimum. And the minimum value of impedance is what? Z is equal to Z minimum, and that minimum value is equal to R. Yes or no? Therefore, I can write I maximum is equal to Vm divided by R. Yes or no? Now take it as equation number 1. For half power frequencies, means currents corresponding to the RMS current. For half power frequencies, we have I is equal to what? I is equal to IRMS, that is equal to I maximum by root 2. Now what is this I maximum by root 2 value? I maximum is equal to what I can say. So take this equation and as well as this equation. So we are having I is equal to, since I is equal to Vm divided by Z, what I can write from this one? I is equal to Vm divided by Z means what? Square root of R square plus chi L minus chi C whole square, otherwise omega L minus 1 by omega C whole square. Shall I write like this or not? Now what is this I here I have to take? You choose I is equal to IRMS, then that is equal to Im by root 2. So Im divided by root 2 is equal to Vm divided by square root of R square plus. So this is the current we are having for omega is equal to what? For omega is equal to omega 1, otherwise omega 2. Either you can choose omega is equal to omega 1 or you can choose omega 2. I will go with omega 2 case. Then what I can write? Omega 2 into L minus 1 by omega 2 into C whole square. Now, but what is Im? Im is equal to Vm divided by R. Substitute here. This implies Vm divided by root 2 into R is equal to Vm divided by square root of R square plus omega 2L minus 1 by omega 2C whole square. Shall I write like this or not? So I am replacing Im with what? Vm divided by R. Then Vm by R, root 2 is there, root 2 will be continued, and right hand side Vm divided by this value. So now What I can do? I can cancel Vm on both sides. Then root 2r is equal to this term. So denominator terms will be equated. Numerator terms are cancelling, then denominator terms must be equated. Then this is root 2 into r is equal to square root of r square plus omega 2l minus 1 by omega 2c whole square. Now squaring on both sides, what happens? Squaring on both sides, this is squaring on both sides. We have squaring this term, root 2r whole square is 2r square is equal to squaring this, root and square will cancel, r square plus omega 2l minus 1 by omega 2c whole square. Now 2r square minus r square is nothing but r square. Then we are left with what? We are left with r square is equal to omega 2l minus 1 by omega 2c whole square. Removing square on both sides, I can write r is equal to omega 2l minus 1 by omega 2c. Okay. But what is this omega 2? If you see here, omega 2 is nothing but omega naught plus delta omega. Therefore, substitute here. This implies r is equal to omega 2 is nothing but how much? Omega naught plus delta omega. Substitute here. Omega naught plus delta omega into L minus 1 by omega naught plus delta omega into C. Shall I write like this or not? Now from this what we are getting? This implies r is equal to, from this you take omega naught L common, then what is remain? 1 plus delta omega divided by omega naught. So L is common, omega naught if I take common, here 1 will be there and here delta omega by omega naught minus, what is the next term? Here you take omega naught C common, then what we are having? Omega naught C into 1 plus delta omega divided by omega naught. Is it clear or not? So from this term what I can write? R is equal to, you see here, at resonance omega naught L is nothing but 1 by omega naught C. At resonance what we are having? At resonance I can say that omega naught L is equal to 1 by omega naught C. That is chi L is equal to chi C. Yes or no? Chi L is equal to chi C at resonance. Therefore, omega naught L is equal to 1 by omega naught C. I can replace 1 by omega naught C with omega naught L. Here 1 by omega naught C is there. So, you replace it with omega naught L. Then I can write it as omega naught L into 1 plus delta omega by omega naught minus omega naught L, because 1 by omega naught C is how much? Omega naught L according to the resonating case. Then this term can be 1 by this term, if it goes up I can write it as 1 plus delta omega by omega naught whole power minus 1. Yes sir. So this implies R is equal to, from this and from this I can take omega naught L common. So taking omega naught L common, what is there? 1 plus delta omega by omega naught minus. You see here, this is of the form 1 plus x whole power minus 1. X being small and using binomial expansion. 1 plus x whole power minus 1 using binomial expansion, x being small, I can write it as 1 minus x. So therefore, I can directly write it as 1 minus, so if you see here, this minus comes here, then we will be having delta omega divided by omega naught, because 1 plus x whole to the power of minus 1 is nothing but approximately equal to 1 minus x using the binomial expansion, provided x being small. Neglecting the higher order terms, we will be having like this. If you see this equation, what is remain? R is equal to, so here 1 minus 1, they will cancel each other. then what is there? Delta omega by omega naught minus of minus plus delta omega by omega naught. Therefore, this is omega naught L into 1 minus 1 cancel. So, delta omega by omega naught minus of minus plus delta omega by omega naught. So, that is 2 delta omega by omega naught. Yes or no? If you see here, this omega naught will cancel and we are remained with R is equal to 2 delta omega into L. Yes or no? But what is this 2 delta omega? The 2 delta omega is nothing but what? Bandwidth. What is the 2 delta omega? Is nothing but the bandwidth. Therefore, what I can do here, you see here. See here. From that, I am having R is equal to delta omega into L. Therefore, from that 2 delta omega is equal to from this equation 2 delta omega is equal to R by L. Yes or no? This is equal to R by L. Now, quality factor, Q factor is what? Q factor is equal to omega naught divided by 2 delta omega naught. That is equal to omega naught divided by 2 delta omega. What is this 2 delta omega? R by L. So, that implies Q factor is equal to omega naught into this L will go up divided by R. So, finally what we got? Q factor is equal to omega naught L divided by R we are getting. Yes or no? But at resonance we are also having omega naught L is equal to 1 by omega naught C. Therefore, you can also write this Q factor as what? Therefore, Q factor can also be written as omega naught L is to be replaced with 1 by omega naught C. Then I will be getting 1 by omega naught C divided by R. That implies Q factor is equal to 1 by omega naught C into R. So, either you can use this formula for quality factor or you can use this formula for quality factor. Is it clear or not? And if you see the equation here, this is nothing but chi L and this is R. So, quality factor is defined as the ratio of inductive reactance to the resistance. Otherwise, if you see this one, this is chi C by R. So, quality factor is defined as the ratio of capacitive reactance to the resistance. So, you can define the quality factor in different ways. Quality factor is defined as the ratio of resonating frequency to the bandwidth. It is defined as the ratio of inductive reactance to the resistance. It is defined as the ratio of capacitive reactance to the resistance. In this way, we can define the quality factor or the sharpness. And from this formula, if this delta omega is less, then sharpness will be more. Yes or no? Bandwidth decreases, sharpness increases. Therefore, less the bandwidth, more will be the sharpness. Using this formula, I can say that quality factor can be increased by decreasing the bandwidth. Understood this point clearly? So, reducing the bandwidth says that the quality factor is going to increase. This is about the resonance and the quality factor of the LCR series circuit. Next, we will be learning about the LC oscillations and transformer. Okay. So, next is about the LC oscillations. In the previous classes, we have studied about the pure inductive circuit, pure resistive circuit, pure capacitor circuit, LCR series circuit. Now we are going to study about the LC circuit. LC circuit means a circuit consisting of an inductor and a capacitor. And if you see the LC circuit, in this one, the energy will be stored in the form of magnetic energy or else in the form of the electrical energy or a combination of both. So, here the electrical energy and the magnetic energy will be just oscillating like a simple harmonic oscillator, mechanical energy case. That means, if you take a spring block system and if you release it from the extreme position, we will be having a conversion of potential energy to kinetic energy and kinetic energy to potential energy, and at any intermediate path you will be having the both kinetic energy as well as the potential energy. So, now the oscillations of this energy oscillations of inductor and capacitor circuit is exactly similar to that of a mechanical oscillator or a spring block system. So, now we will discuss that. So for discussing the LC oscillations, we have to take an inductor of inductance L and a capacitor of capacitance C. So consider an inductor of inductance L, an inductor of inductance L, and a capacitor of capacitance C, and a capacitor of capacitance C. Now initially the capacitor is charged and then connected to the inductor. Initially capacitor is fully charged, and connected to the inductor, as shown. So if you see a capacitor, inside the capacitor what will be there? In between the plates of capacitor there will be a uniform electric field, and in this uniform electric field electrostatic potential energy will be stored, yes or no? If I consider an inductor, it is used to produce the magnetic field, and inside an inductor the magnetic energy will be stored. Now here in the beginning capacitor is only charged and it is fully charged. Let the maximum charge on the capacitor is equal to Qm. What is the maximum charge on the capacitor? Qm is the maximum charge on the capacitor. So I am choosing a capacitor like this being the positive plate and this being the negative plate, and now it is connected to the inductor in this way. This is an inductor of inductance L. So in this way we are connecting, and take this point as some A and this point as some B. Now in the beginning this is positive plate, now this is the higher potential and this is at lower potential. The point A will be at higher potential and B will be at lower potential in the beginning. Now here this is electric field which is directed from positive plate of the capacitor to the negative plate of the capacitor, whose capacitance is equal to how much? C, and the maximum charge on it is equal to Qm. Let Qm is the maximum charge stored in the capacitor. At this beginning we are having only electrical energy, but there is no magnetic energy, because at t is equal to 0, the capacitor is only charged and inductor does not have any kind of current at t is equal to 0. So at t is equal to 0 case, what I can say, at t is equal to 0, charge on the capacitor Q is equal to Qm, and current in inductor I is equal to 0. Therefore only which energy is stored? Only electrical energy is stored. Here at this time only electrical energy is stored. Only electrostatic potential energy is stored. Potential energy is stored. Therefore what I can say? Therefore potential, electrostatic potential energy UE is equal to, we know that energy stored in a capacitor is equal to half CV square or Q square by 2C. Therefore according to that I can write it as Qm square divided by 2C. This is at t is equal to 0 only. Okay. Now as the time passes, what is going to happen? As the time passes, the capacitor is discharging. Therefore there will be a current in the inductor. So current in the inductor is growing. From 0 time, if it is connected, then the capacitor is discharging and inductor is allowing the current to pass through it. When the current is passing through the inductor, what happens? Magnetic field will be generated in the inductor. Because of that magnetic flux, what will be there? There will be a magnetic energy stored in the inductor. Now let us consider an arbitrary instant of time, or at some instant of time, let the charge on the capacitor is equal to Q and the current in the inductor is equal to I. Let Q and I represents charge on capacitor, charge on whom? Charge on capacitor, and current in inductor. Current in inductor at some instant. at some instant. So now, what is this charge? If you see here, CV is equal to Q is the relation. If I apply the KVL rule for this one, applying KVL rule for this LC circuit, what I am going to get? Applying KVL, Kirchhoff voltage law for LC circuit, what I am going to get? So here V is the potential drop. If I take V minus EMF in the inductor, E is equal to what? E is equal to minus L into di by dt according to Faraday's laws of induction. Yes or no? According to Faraday's laws of induction, what is happening? This is nothing but EMF across this 2 points A and B is nothing but minus L into di by dt, and CV is equal to Q says that V is equal to Q by C. Therefore, Q by C minus L into di by dt is equal to 0. But if you see here, this di by dt is positive or negative? This di by dt will be negative, we need to consider, because there is a decrease in the current as the time passes. Okay. So now, because of that one, what happens? So, as di by dt is negative, what I can say? Q by C minus of L into minus di by dt is equal to 0. Shall I write like this or not? From this what happens? So here, why this di by dt is negative? In the beginning, what capacity is discharging, current is there in this one, but slowly what happens? Because of the induced EMF, there is an opposition to the flow of current. Therefore, slowly what happens? The current is decreasing. Hence, there is a decrease in the current. Hence, the rate of current is decreasing. Hence, the term negative here. Therefore, here Q by C minus of minus is plus L into d by dt of, what is this I? I is nothing but current. Current I is equal to dq by dt we have studied. Therefore, I can write it as dq by dt, that is equal to 0. Since I is equal to dq by dt is known for us. Instantaneous current is given by the formula I is equal to dq by dt, which we studied in current electricity part. Now, from this one, what I can say? This is d by dt of dq by dt is nothing but d square q by dt square. Yes or no? First, I will write this term L into d square q by dt square plus q by c is equal to 0. So, I am writing this term first and this term later. Now, from this, what I can say? D square q by dt square, bring this to this side, then Q divided by LC is equal to 0. So, if you see this one, I can write it like this: d square q by dt square plus omega square into q is equal to 0, where omega is equal to, where omega square is equal to 1 by LC, or omega is equal to 1 by root LC. If you see this equation, this mathematical equation is similar to that of simple harmonic oscillator case. So, this equation is analogous to, what? Analogous to the differential equation, second order differential equation, d square x by dt square plus omega square x is equal to 0, which represents the equation of a simple harmonic motion, where x being the displacement of the particle executing SHM and omega square is equal to k by m, or omega is equal to square root of k by m. Is it clear or not? So, this is the differential equation for a simple harmonic oscillator or a mechanical oscillator, where x is the displacement. Here, the role played by the displacement is played by the charge, and the role played by omega square here, that is equal to k by m, is played by omega square is equal to 1 by LC. If you compare these two equations, this is the general solution for this differential equation is what? X is equal to x naught into cos omega t plus phi. What is the general solution for this differential equation? X is equal to x naught into cos omega t plus phi. In the similar way, what is the general solution for this differential equation? In the place of x, q will be there. Therefore, q is equal to q naught into cos omega t plus phi. Now, taking the general solution for the equation, what I can write? Taking the general solution for the differential equation, I can write q is equal to q naught. Q naught refers to what? Maximum value. Here I have taken the maximum value as qm into cos omega t plus phi. Is it clear or not? If I take this into consideration, at t is equal to 0, what is the charge? At t is equal to 0, I know that charge is equal to qm, because at the initial time I have taken charge in the capacitor is equal to qm because it is fully charged. Therefore, at t is equal to 0, q is equal to qm. Therefore, qm is equal to qm into cos omega into 0 plus phi. This implies qm will cancel, this term becomes 0, cos phi is equal to 1. Cos phi is equal to 1 implies phi is equal to how much? The phase angle is equal to 0 degrees. So initially phi is equal to how much? 0. Therefore, I can directly write q is equal to qm into cos omega t. Is it clear or not? So therefore, as the initial phase is equal to 0, what I can say? As the initial phase is equal to 0, I can say that q is equal to qm into. Therefore, q is equal to qm into cos omega t. Take it as equation number 2, or take this as equation number 1 here. Now take this as equation number 2. Now, therefore, current I is equal to what? Current I is equal to dq by dt. Therefore, I can write it as d by dt of what? Qm into cos omega t. But we know that current is decreasing. Therefore, I can take it as minus. Is it clear or not? So, therefore, what I can say here? Minus of d by dt of Qm is constant, write it outside, d by dt of cos omega t. D by dt of cos omega t is what? Differentiation of cos is minus sine. Therefore, here you can write it like this more clearly, Qm into multiply with omega, and then this is d by d omega t. So, here omega and this omega will cancel, therefore, I can write like this. So, what I can say now? D by dx of cos x is minus sin x, therefore, d by d omega t of cos omega t is minus sin omega t. Therefore, I can write it as minus Qm into omega into minus sin omega t. If you see this one minus minus will go off, then I can write it as Qm into omega into sin omega t. This is the current I. But if you see this one, this is written like this, as current is negative, I am taking here negative sign here. So, y negative means it is decreasing. Now, if you see here, what is this term? Sin omega t is a mathematical function. It does not have any physical meaning. But here if you see, this is current, left hand side term is current, then this must be what? Current. So, this term should be current, and that too it should be the maximum current. That should be the maximum current. Therefore, I can write it as I is equal to Im into sin omega t. Okay. This is the formula for current in the LC oscillator. So, this is sine function, current is sine function, whereas the charge is the cos function we got. Charge is the cos function we got here. This is charge, which is the charge on the capacitor, which is the cos function, and this is current, which is the sine function. So, what these two will say? If this is 0, this must be maximum, because sine value and cos value will be having the opposite values. That means, for example, sine 0 if I take, sine 0 is 0, but cos 0 is 1, maximum. Sine 90 is equal to maximum, cos 90 is equal to 0. That means, when this is 0, this is maximum, and this is maximum, this is 0. Is it clear? That means, when current is becoming maximum, charge is becoming 0, and vice versa. Is it clear or not? So, from these two, what we already know that inside an inductor there will be a magnetic energy. Energy stored in inductor is given by which formula? Energy stored in inductor. magnetic energy will be stored inside the inductor, therefore UB is equal to half into L into I maximum square, or this is the maximum value of magnetic energy possible when the charge in capacitor is 0, and this is the maximum value of electrostatic energy possible when current in this is 0. Okay. In any other case, the total energy or the energy at any instant of time, the energy in general, the energy at some instant of time means it will be having both magnetic energy as well as the electrostatic energy. The energy at some arbitrary instant, at some arbitrary instant or arbitrary time, U is equal to electrical energy plus magnetic energy. That implies U is equal to what I can say, half Li square plus, sorry, this is a electrostatic energy can be written as Q square by 2C plus half Li square. Is it clear or no? And you can show that this total term will be constant, which is equal to either this one or equal to that one. Why? Because you can replace Q with this term Qm cos omega t and I with the term Im sin omega t. So we will be having sin square plus cos square is equal to 1. Then we can show that the total energy is equal to either this one or this one. And if you see here one more thing, we will be having some similarities with the mechanical oscillator. The LC oscillator case will be similar to what? Mechanical oscillator. In the case of a mechanical oscillator, we are having d square x by dt square plus omega square x is equal to 0. Whereas in this LC oscillator, we are having d square q by dt square plus omega square is equal to 0. So I will show the differences between those two. So at t is equal to 0, there will be electrostatic energy will be there, but magnetic energy is 0. At a time t is equal to t by 4, that means 1/4 of the time period. So here energy will be 0 and this energy will be maximum. At t is equal to t by 2, then this energy is maximum, this energy is 0. At t is equal to 3t by 4, this energy will be 0 and this energy is maximum. Okay. At t is equal to t, again this is maximum and this is equal to 0. So it is oscillating. The electrical energy and magnetic energy will be oscillating. Okay. Understood these things? Now I am taking this the analogy between the electric oscillator and that means the LC oscillator and the mechanical oscillator. We will see the relationship between the mechanical oscillator and LC oscillator. So here LC oscillator or here mechanical oscillator I will take mechanical oscillator, and here I will be writing about the LC oscillator. LC oscillator. So here the differential equation is d square x by dt square plus omega square x is equal to 0. And here the equation is what? D square q by dt square plus omega square q is equal to 0. The general solution for this equation, x is equal to xm into cos omega t plus phi. And we got that as like this. And here q is equal to, we got qm into cos omega t, the final expression. Yes or no? And here dx by dt represents what? Dx by dt represents the velocity of oscillator, which is equal to what we will be having. Velocity of oscillator, we got it as v naught into sin omega t, or else I can v maximum into sin omega t I can write, or v is equal to dx by dt. Here current I is equal to dq by dt. Current I is equal to dq by dt. Directly I am writing this step only. So v is equal to dx by dt, I is equal to dq by dt. Is it clear or not? So x is representing the displacement, q is representing the charge. So the displacement term is analogous to charge term. The velocity term of the oscillator is similar to that of current in the LC oscillator. Is it clear or not? And here one term is representing the potential energy, and the other term is representing the kinetic energy. So if you consider a mechanical oscillator like this, if there is a spring or whose spring constant is k connected to a block of mass m, and here omega can be written as square root of k by m, yes or no? And here we got omega is equal to what? 1 by square root of LC. 1 by square root of LC we are having. And one more thing is, Here energy stored, kinetic energy formula is equal to what? Kinetic energy is equal to half mv square, and that is nothing but kinetic energy is represented with the magnetic energy in this case. Magnetic energy is half Li square. If you see these two, the role played by mass is played by inductance. Therefore, here m is a measure of inertia, mass is a measure of inertia, whereas here L is a measure of electrical inertia. Therefore, the other name for inductance is the electrical inertia. L is a measure of what? Electrical inertia. So, velocity term is nothing but current term here. Velocity, current. Then, velocity representing current means mass is replaced with inductance L. And what about the capacitance case? Q square by 2C we are having. Potential energy is equal to, we are having half kx square. Half kx square. Yes or no? This is a potential energy form is equal to half kx square we are having. And in this case, potential energy is equal to Q square by 2C. Now, here x is replaced with what? Q. X means Q. The charge is related with the displacement case. Then taking x is replacing with Q, then K is replaced with what? 1 by C. K is replaced with what? 1 by C. That means here K refers to the spring constant. The spring constant in the case of mechanical oscillator is analogous to the reciprocal of capacitance. Mass is analogous to electrical inertia, that is inductance, whereas the spring constant K is analogous to the reciprocal of the capacitance. In this way, we can relate the LC oscillations with the mechanical oscillator like a spring block system. In a spring block system, at mean position there will be only what energy? Suppose a spring is stretched to the extreme position, it is having the potential energy. When it is released and comes to the mean position, it is having the kinetic energy, but potential energy is 0. Again it goes to the extreme, left extreme. Potential energy becomes maximum, kinetic energy becomes 0. So, if you consider this is the extreme, right extreme, this is left extreme, this is extreme, and this is also extreme, this is mean. For a mechanical oscillator, here potential energy is maximum, kinetic energy is 0. And here kinetic energy maximum, potential energy is 0. Here potential energy maximum, kinetic energy is 0. In the similar way, what happens? Potential energy term is related with whom here? Potential energy term is related with electrostatic potential energy of the oscillator. And kinetic energy is related with magnetic energy. Therefore, at extreme case, that means here when potential energy is maximum, electrostatic energy is maximum. Therefore, magnetic energy is 0. Here, magnetic energy is maximum, and what is 0? Magnetic energy maximum, electrostatic energy is 0. Likewise, it is interchanging. And these oscillations are analogous to what? Mechanical oscillations. But one thing here we must be careful is, we have considered only the idealistic case of LC oscillations. But in reality, it won't happen. Why? Because in reality, the inductor will have some resistance. Inductor is also made up of a copper wire. Therefore, it will have some finite resistance. Because of that finite resistance of the inductor, there will be some damping. Just like we cannot have the idealistic oscillations of a spring block system. If a block is released, stretched like this and released in gravity region, then the oscillations will die off after some time because of the damping forces provided by the air resistance or the medium surrounding the block, which we studied in the PUC first year. We have studied in the simple harmonic motion the damping oscillations cases. In reality, there will be some damping forces. Here also in LC oscillator also, because of the resistance of the inductor, there will be some damping, and that is called electrical damping we will call. Therefore, the oscillations are not pure LC oscillator. We can't have the pure kind of oscillations, but we will be having only the damped oscillations. This is about the LC oscillator. So, at T is equal to 0, what I can say? Electrical energy is maximum. At T is equal to 0, electrical energy is maximum, magnetic energy is 0. At T is equal to T by 2, at T is equal to T by 2, electrical energy is 0, magnetic energy is maximum. At T is equal to, T by 4 this is, at T is equal to T by 2, electrical energy is maximum, magnetic energy is 0. At T is equal to 3T by 4, Electrical energy is 0, magnetic energy is maximum. At T is equal to T, electrical energy is maximum, magnetic energy is 0. Is it clear or not? That means after 4 cycles, what happens? Again, we will be having the same situation. T0, this energy is, that is electrical energy is there, magnetic energy is 0. At T is equal to T by 4, electrical energy is 0, magnetic energy maximum. At T is equal to T by 2, electrical energy is 0, magnetic energy maximum. At T is equal to 3 T by 4, this is how much? So, this is 0, maximum, 0, maximum, again this is 0 and this is maximum. At T is equal to T, this is maximum and this is 0. This is about the LC oscillations. So, the last topic of this chapter, alternating current, is transformer, which is an important essay question for board syllabus. What is a transformer? Or they will be asking for 3 marks to write the factors which are affecting the efficiency of the transformer. They will be asking for 3 marks. What is a transformer? We have seen a transformer nearby our houses. At so many places we have seen the transformer. What is the function of the duty of a transformer? Why to use a transformer is the question first. So, we will be seeing the electrical power which is generated at the electrical power stations, and that electrical power is carried from there to the required stations. That means where the consumer is there, up to that place we need to transport the electrical power from power generating station to the required place. Then how this power is transmitted from there to here? From there to here we can transport the electrical power only by the conducting wires. We cannot transmit the electrical power through the gaseous medium here. Yes or no? Suppose in Karnataka we are having the electrical nuclear power plant is there at Kaiga, and from Kaiga to here we are getting the electrical power through the wires. Or in Shaktinagar we are having a thermal power plant. From there to here we are getting the power by some electrical wires only. Or the hydroelectric power plant is there. From there to here we are getting the electrical power through the conducting wires. We will be seeing the high tension wires, we will be seeing which are carrying the electrical power. So, in our household purpose we are using only around 220 volt to 240 volt will be the voltage that is used in the household supplies. Then for transportation purpose of the electrical power through the conducting wire, we will be going to use the high voltages. So, for transmission purpose we are requiring the high voltages, and for usage purpose we are requiring the low voltage. Suppose you are having a bulb, the tube light only you consider. This tube light will operate properly if you connect it for 220 volt power supply. The same electrical bulb, if it is connected to a high tension wire, then what happens? It is going to damage. That means for running the electrical appliances we should not require the high voltages. We require the required voltage which will vary from 220 to 240 volts. Then in such a case, what is our requirement? In some situations we are requiring high voltages, and some of the situations we are requiring the low voltages. For the transmission of electrical power we are requiring the high voltage. High voltage means current will be less. So, high voltage means less current and low voltage means high current. So, there is a requirement of high voltage low current and low voltage high current. For the running of electrical appliances we require low voltage high current, whereas for the power transmission we require the high voltage low current. Why to require high voltage low current for the power transmission means, in the case of current electricity we have studied that the power P is equal to I square into R. Yes or no? So, here if current is more, power loss is also more. So, if you transmit the electrical power with the high value of current, then power loss is also more. Therefore, the whatever power that is generated at the power generating station, when it comes to the required place, will be remained with a less amount of electric current. Okay, this is just like the case. Suppose some 100 students are standing in a queue, and I have given let us consider this much of ice cube is given for the first person and asked him to transport for the last person. Then what happens? When it is moved from one hand to another hand, by the time it goes to the last person, will be remained with only small amount of ice cube, because the ice was melted because of heat of our hand. So, our body temperature is more compared with the temperature of the ice. Therefore, when it is transported from one person to the last person, that is 100%, the last person is going to get only this much of ice cube. So in the similar way, at the power generating station, we have generated a power of high current. But that high current, if it it is transported, then what happens? Power loss will be more. Therefore, by the time it reaches the consumer point, what happens? The power will be very less. Then there is no practical use. Then there should be less power loss and there should be an effective transmission, means then it is possible by transporting the electrical power with low current and high voltages. But low current high voltages are not useful while you are dealing with the electrical appliances like fan or refrigerator or whatever may be the household goods in our offices or in the homes. Then in such a case we require low voltage high currents. Then how this low voltage high current and high voltage low currents will be obtained? The duty of the transformer, what we are studying, is to convert the high voltage low current to low voltage high current and vice versa. So based on that, we are having two types of transformers. There is a step up transformer as well as step down transformer. So what is a transformer? Transformer is an electrical device which is used to convert low current high voltage to high current low voltage and vice versa. Is it clear? Now, if it is a device, it is based on a particular principle. Then what is the principle involved in this transformer? The principle involved in transformer is nothing but mutual kind of induction. So what is the principle of transformer? Mutual induction, which is very important 1 mark question. Transformer works on which principle? Transformer works on mutual induction phenomenon. Is it clear? Now, so how many types of transformer we are having? Two types. One is step up transformer and other is step down transformer. At the power generating station, in order to transport the electrical power, we have to convert the low voltage high current to high voltage low current. So this can be done using a step up transformer. But when it comes to the consumer point of view, we require low voltage and high current. Consumer means not the industrial purpose I am telling here, household purpose I am telling. In substations, in power substations, where we are taking the electrical power, we need to convert the high voltage low current to low voltage high current. That can be done by the step down type of transformer. Is it clear or not? So I am writing what I told you here. Transformer is a device. What is a transformer? Transformer is a device. Transformer is a device which is used to convert, high voltage low current to high voltage low current to high voltage low current to low voltage high current, low voltage high current and vice versa. Vice versa means the opposite of this, and vice versa. So either you can use a transformer for converting the high voltage low current to low voltage high current, otherwise low voltage high current to high voltage low current. Based on the type of conversion, we are having two types of transformers as step up transformer and step down transformer. Transformer works on which principle? Transformer works on mutual induction phenomenon. It is working on which phenomenon? Mutual induction phenomenon. As it is working on mutual induction phenomenon, there must be how many coils? For mutual induction to take place, there must be two coils. Therefore, in a transformer, there must be two coils. And now, how many types of transformers are there? There are two types of transformers, namely, transformers are of two types. Namely, step up transformer, and the second one is step down transformer. Step up transformer and step down transformer. What is meant by step up transformer? It is the one which is used to convert low voltage high current to high voltage low current. And what is the function of step down transformer? It is used to convert the high voltage low current to low voltage high current. Is it clear? Now, So transformer is consisting of how many number of coils? As it is working on mutual induction phenomenon, for mutual induction to take place, there must be two coils, and the two coils can be winded one over the other, otherwise they can be winded on the two limbs of a transformer core, just like this case. So if this is a core material, then for this core material, the winding will be done like this. This is the way we are winding the two coils. This is coil C2 and this is coil C1. Is it clear or not? So there will be two coils like this, and that is the two coils will be winded one over the other. In second case, we can take like this. Let us consider this is the metallic core. This is a metallic core what we are having. Over the metallic core, so here there is two limbs will be there. This is one limb and this is another limb of the core material, I can say. So for this one, I will be having one coil like this, and for this one there will be another coil like this. So how many coils are there? Two coils are there. So this is said to be the primary coil and this is said to be the secondary coil. What is a primary coil? A coil to which an AC input source is connected is said to be the primary coil. A coil to which you are connecting the input AC source. Input AC source is connected is said to be the primary coil. And the coil across which you are taking the output is said to be the secondary coil. So across this we are going to take the output, therefore it is said to be the secondary coil. The coil to which we are connecting the input AC source is said to be the primary coil, and the coil across which you are taking the output is said to be the secondary coil. And here these are said to be the two arms of the coil or the limbs of the coil. These are said to be the two arms or two limbs of the coil. Is it clear or not? And here in the primary coil, let us consider the number of turns is Np and number of turns in secondary coil is Ns. Let EMF developed in the primary coil is Ep and EMF developed in secondary coil is Es. Similarly, voltage drop across primary coil is Vp, voltage drop across secondary coil is Vs. And finally, let Ip be the current in the primary coil and Is be the current in the secondary coil. If the transformer is an ideal type of transformer, then what is the condition? So from Faraday's laws of induction, we know that from Faraday's laws of induction, what I am having? From Faraday's laws of induction or Faraday's second law, I am having that induced EMF is equal to what? Minus N into d phi by dt, where phi stands for the flux linked with each turn and N phi stands for the flux linked with the entire coil. If N is the number of turns, if phi is the flux linked with each turn, if N number of turns are there, then the total flux linked is said to be the flux linkage, and flux linkage is equal to N phi. Now from Faraday's second law, we know that EMF is equal to minus N into d phi by dt. Therefore, what is the EMF induced in the primary coil and what is the EMF induced in the secondary coil? Therefore, if I consider the transformer is an ideal transformer, then whatever the flux that is linked with the primary coil is also be linked with the secondary coil. Therefore, I can say that from this one I can say that Es is equal to minus Ns into d phi by dt and Ep is equal to minus Np into d phi by dt. So for transformer being ideal, I can say that flux linked with the first coil is also linked with the second coil. So from this one, what I can say? This implies Es by Ep is equal to this divided by this. This implies Ns divided by Np. Take it as equation 1. Is it clear or not? Similarly, I can also say that as the current will be, for ideal transformer, current will be very less. I can say that the EMF is nothing but the voltage drop. Therefore, I can take it as Es by Ep is equal to Vs by Vp, that is equal to Ns by Np. Take it as equation number 2. So EMF is nothing but the voltage drop, because for ideal transformer case current loss will be less. Now in such a case, for ideal transformer, the most important thing is, if it is ideal transformer, then the output power must be equal to input power, or it must be 100% efficient. If it is an ideal transformer, then the efficiency of that ideal transformer is 100%. Hence, I can say that output power is equal to input power. Therefore, output power is equal to input power for ideal transformer. But we know that power is equal to voltage into current. Power is equal to VI. Therefore, this implies V out into I out is equal to Vin into In. Since power is equal to VI is a basic formula that we are having from current electricity point of view. And here output is nothing but secondary, input is nothing but primary. Therefore, I can write it as Vs into Is is equal to Vp into Ip. From this I can say that Vs by Vp is equal to Ip by Is. That means the voltage and current, how they are related. Voltage and current are inversely related with each other for an ideal transformer. That means more the voltage, less the current, less the voltage, more the current. That's why here high voltage, low current, low voltage, high current I am telling. Understood this point clearly? Now from this, from equation 2 and equation 3, what I can say? From equation 2 and equation 3, what I can say finally? Es by Ep is equal to Ns by Np is equal to Vs by Vp is equal to Ip by Is. So from this, what I can understand? More the number of turns, more the voltage. So if I want high voltages, the number of turns must be more. If I want low voltage, the number of turns must be less. Suppose if I want to construct a step-up transformer, what type of transformer I want to construct? Step-up transformer. Then output voltage must be more than input voltage. That implies that number of turns in the secondary must be greater than number of turns in primary. So for step-up transformer, what is the condition? For step-up transformer, number of turns in secondary must be greater than number of turns in primary. Or I can say that Ns by Np must be greater than 1. Suppose if I want low voltage and high current, then it is called as step down transformer. As it is step down transformer, output voltage must be less than input voltage. Output voltage less means number of turns in output must be, or secondary must be less than number of turns in primary. Therefore, Ns must be less than Np for step down transformer, or else I can say that Ns by Np ratio is less than 1. So what this Ns by Np refers to? The ratio of number of turns in secondary to the number of turns in primary. This ratio of number of turns in secondary to the number of turns in primary is called as transformer ratio. Ns by Np is called as what? Transformer ratio. Transformer ratio. This transformer ratio is helpful in identifying whether it is a step-up transformer or a step-down transformer. When the transformer ratio is greater than 1, it is step-up transformer. When the transformer ratio is less than 1, it is step-down transformer. Is it clear or not? This is about the ideal kind of transformer where the efficiency is 100%. But in practical cases, the efficiency of transformer will never be 100%. Why the efficiency of transformer never be 100% means there will be some drawbacks here. What are the drawbacks? Why the efficiency of transformer is going to be reduced, or what are the factors that are influencing the efficiency of a transformer? The important factors that are influencing the efficiency of transformer will be like this. Before that, if it is not an ideal transformer, if it is a practical transformer, for a practical transformer, efficiency is never be 100%. Therefore, efficiency is nothing but output power divided by input power. For practical transformer, practical transformer efficiency is never be 100%. Transformer efficiency is never be 100%. Therefore, efficiency of practical transformer is given by output power divided by input power into 100. So what is this output power means? Vs into Is divided by Vp into Ip into 100. This is the formula for calculating the efficiency of a practical transformer. If it is ideal transformer, this ratio is equal because this is equal to this, therefore they will cancel, you will get 100 for ideal transformer. Now what are the factors that are affecting the transformer here? Means we will see here. First thing, the efficiency of the transformer will be affected by the flux leakage. So if you see here, in this figure and in this figure, what is the difference? In this figure, the two coils are winded one over the other. In this case, the two coils are not winded on the same arm, but they are winded on two different arms of the core material. In such a case, if this gap is large, then the flux linked with the first coil is not completely linked with the second coil. Therefore, there will be some flux leakage. Because of this flux leakage, there will be some reduction in the efficiency of the transformer. So, the first factor that is affecting is flux leakage. Then how to minimize this flux leakage? We cannot eliminate this, but we can minimize it. So, what is the remedy that is to be taken in order to increase the efficiency of the transformer? By decreasing the flux leakage. Why the flux is leaking in this case? If the two coils are not winded close to each other, then there will be some flux leakage because the complete flux of first coil cannot be linked with the second coil. In order to reduce the flux leakage, the two coils must be winded like this in figure 1. That means the two coils must be winded one over the other. Then the flux leakage can be reduced and the efficiency can be increased. And the second parameter that is affecting the efficiency of the transformer is eddy current losses. Eddy currents. How these eddy currents are responsible for decreasing the efficiency of a transformer? You know that the transformer core is made up of some metallic sheets. Yes or no? If it is a metallic sheet, inside this whenever flux is changing with the coil, then the eddy currents will be developed in the metallic sheet of the core material. And because of these eddy currents, the transformer core will be getting heated. Because of that heating effect, there will be some loss in efficiency of the transformer. So now what to do? We have to reduce the eddy currents, or we have to minimize the eddy currents. We cannot eliminate the eddy currents, but we can minimize it. How to minimize the eddy currents means the core material is to be laminated. I told you previously how to laminate. The given metallic plate is cut into a number of sheets and then they will be joined with each other, or we will call it as lamination. So by laminating the core material, we can reduce the eddy current losses. And the third one is resistance of the coil. Resistance of coils. Though we are preparing the primary coil and secondary coil with the copper wire only, as each copper wire will be having some resistance. Due to the resistance, when current is passing, heat is produced, and because of that heat there will be some energy loss. Therefore, the efficiency will be reduced. The two coils are made up of copper material only or some conducting material only. As they are made up of conducting material, when current is passing through them, either through the primary coil or through the secondary coil, there will be some resistance offered by those coils because they are not ideal case of coils. If they are ideal coils, then resistance will be 0. Practically, there will be some resistance for the coils. Because of that one, there will be some energy loss. This can be reduced by reducing the resistance of the coil. How to reduce the resistance of the coil? In current electricity term, we have studied that R is equal to rho L by A. As I cannot change the length of the wire, or length of the coil, I can change the area of the coil, area of cross section of the wire. So, using the thick wires, instead of using a thin wire as a coil, using the thick wire, resistance will be reduced and the heating effect will be reduced. Therefore, we can increase the efficiency of the transformer. This is another parameter. Next one is hysteresis loss. So, as we are using some core material here, that core material will be having some hysteresis behavior, the lagging behind character will be there. So therefore, while you are choosing the core material must be chosen which is having a less hysteresis value. One such material used as a core for the transformer is nothing but soft iron. Why? Because while you are using the soft iron, it can be easily magnetized and it can be easily demagnetized. Yes or no? So therefore, the transformer cores must be selected with values having less hysteresis value. Otherwise, what happens means, when the current is flowing, the core material is getting magnetized and demagnetized. During this magnetization and demagnetization, some of the energy will be lost in the form of heat. Therefore, in order to reduce the hysteresis loss, we have to select the core materials having less hysteresis value. Is it clear or not? Like this, these are the parameters we are having which are affecting the efficiency of the transformer. What are the parameters? Flux leakage, eddy currents, hysteresis loss and resistance of the wire. And how to minimize also I told you. Flux leakage can be minimized by winding one coil over the another coil. Eddy currents can be minimized by laminating the core materials. Resistance can be minimized by using the thick wire instead of the thin wire for the coils. And hysteresis can be minimized by using the materials having the less hysteresis value. This is how we can increase the efficiency of the transformer, practical transformer. So what is a transformer finally? Transformer is a device which is used to convert the high voltage low current to low voltage high current and vice versa. And transformer works on which principle? Mutual induction phenomenon. And transformer is of two types. One is step up transformer and step down transformer. And in the case of step up transformer, we will increase the output voltage compared with the input voltage. So for the power from the power generating station, when power is there and it is to be transported to the other place, we will be using the high voltage lines. At that place we require the step up transformer. While we are using in the houses, we require the low voltages. Therefore we require nearby the houses we will be having the substations which are used to convert the high voltage to low currents, and that will be supplied for the houses. There we require the step down kind of transformer. In bed lamps, which type of transformer will be used, they will ask. That is nothing but the step down transformer. Is it clear? And the efficiency of ideal transformer is 100%. For such an ideal transformer, current and voltage, they are inversely related with each other. Is it clear? But for practical transformer, efficiency never be 100% because there are some various parameters which are affecting the efficiency of the transformer, and such factors that are affecting the efficiency of the transformer are flux leakage, eddy currents, resistance of the wires and the hysteresis loss. Okay, this is about the transformer and the end of this alternating current chapter. Okay, thank you.